Before he passed away, Senator Ted Kennedy wrote the only memoir ever written by anyone in the Kennedy family. How is this account different than others, and how long had he been working on it?
Well, the book is different because it's an emotional, almost intimate story. It's Ted Kennedy talking about his family and his feelings. Ted Kennedy talking about atoning for his mistakes. Ted Kennedy talking about the anguish he felt when his brothers died one after the next. A big part of the book is about his father and their relationship, which was much closer, I think, than anybody realized, and how formative his father's lessons were for Ted Kennedy. So it's mainly an emotional outpouring from Ted Kennedy, and you hear his voice. You hear his voice all the way through it. The writing of the book is interesting. I had a phone interview with Vicki Kennedy, his wife, right before we did our story. And she told me that as long as she knew him, he talked about writing a memoir. And interestingly, that he had kept notes for 50 years, from the time he was, even before that, from the time he was 6 years old, he was keeping notes. His first communion was with the Pope, and he dictated his impressions to his governess at the time, and those notes were kept. And every time he had an important meeting or did anything that he wanted recorded, he took notes. And these notes became the backbone of the book, especially about his early years. And most of the book is about his early years. There's a lot in there about his childhood. So he kept these for sort of detailed, intimate, personal, diary-like notes. For years and years and years and years. He wrote the book in the last 2 years of his life, including the last year when he was sick. And his wife, Vicki, helped him every inch of the way. Part of the book is taken from oral interviews he was giving for a history project that he'd been giving over the years. So that also became part of what went into the book. And the publisher editor, Jonathan Karp, also interviewed Ted Kennedy for the book. So all these things became sort of the research material from which the book was written.
Lastly, you spoke with his son, Ted Jr. What insight did he share, and was there anything in the book that surprised him about his father?
Well, Ted Kennedy Jr., his oldest child, told me that the thing that surprised him perhaps the most was how big an influence Ted Kennedy's father had been in his life. And I must say that surprised me too. He was such an enormous, gigantic force in Ted Kennedy's life, at least the way this book is written, meaning in Ted Kennedy's mind, that's the way it was. Joe Kennedy Sr. has this moment in the book where he tells his son, you know, Teddy, you can have a serious life or a non-serious life. It's all up to you. Now, if you choose to have a non-serious life, that's fine, but you just won't see me very much because I'll be busy with my other children who've chosen to be serious. And Ted Kennedy says he goes up to his bedroom and he stares at the ceiling and he decides he's going to have a serious life. He's going to make a difference.